looked me straight in the eye, surrounded by his wealthy friends, and said, "My son deserves better than a woman like you." I smiled, folded my napkin, and walked out of that mansion with my dignity intact, and a plan that would cost him everything. By the time he realized who I really was, it was too late. His empire was gone, his power stripped, and his son? He was standing right beside me. Hey lovelies, welcome back to Tales by Lope, where every story reminds you, never underestimate a woman who knows her worth. Today's story is one of love, betrayal, and sweet revenge. It's about a self-made black woman who was humiliated at a dinner table full of elites, only to rise higher than anyone ever imagined. A story that proves money can buy luxury, but it can't buy class, loyalty, or respect. So sit tight, grab your drink, and watch how a woman the world called not good enough became the name they could no longer afford to ignore. The red wine burned through my veins like a secret I wasn't meant to taste. I could hear his words long before they registered. Each syllable floated toward me, heavy and cruel. "My son deserves better than a woman from the gutter," Mr. Lionel Bradford declared, his baritone slicing through the elegant hum of jazz and soft chatter. The dinner guests, polished men and jeweled women, turned in unison, like a slow-moving wave of judgment. Every gaze landed on me, the girl from Southside Atlanta who dared to sit among royalty in silk. The napkin in my lap trembled between my fingers. I folded it gently and set it beside my untouched plate of herb-crusted salmon, a dish that probably cost more than a week's groceries where I came from. "Thank you for dinner, Mr. Bradford," I said, my voice calm though my pulse hammered. "And thank you for being honest." I rose from the table, meeting his eyes, a man used to seeing people shrink under his stare. "My name is Zariah Cole. I built my name from dust and discipline. And this," I gave a faint smile, "this moment will cost you more than you know." Across the table, Ethan, his son, reached for my hand, panic clouding his warm brown eyes. "Z, don't." I brushed my thumb over his knuckles before letting go. "It's all right, baby. Your father just reminded me of my place." Lionel smirked, pleased with himself, a man convinced he'd won, believing he'd just scared off the woman who didn't belong. He didn't know that humiliation, for me, was fuel. I walked out of that mansion like a woman who'd already decided her next move. Past the golden chandelier, the portraits of men who'd inherited power rather than owned it, and the marble floors that gleamed with arrogance. Outside, my modest black sedan sat beside his family's fleet of luxury cars. I could almost hear his laughter echoing off the driveway stones, the sound of a man too proud to know his downfall was seated at his own table. Ethan caught up just as I reached my car. "Zariah, I'm so sorry," he whispered, voice cracking. I didn't think he'd go that far. I placed a hand on his cheek, brushing away the tear he tried to hide. "Don't apologize for him. He finally said what he's always thought. Now we both know. I'll talk to him, make him fix it." "No," I cut in softly. "No more covering for him. No more begging to belong. Let's just stand where we're truly seen." He pulled me into his arms, trembling. "Please don't let him ruin what we have." I smiled, pressing my forehead against his. "He can't ruin what's real. I'll call you tomorrow." Then I slipped behind the wheel, the soft hum of the engine masking the thunder inside my chest. As the Bradford estate faded in my rear-view mirror, its glowing windows looked like stars, distant and cold. My phone vibrated again and again, calls from Ethan's mother, his sister, maybe even the family lawyer. I ignored them all. I had one call to make. "Alexa," I said into the air, "call Danielle." Within seconds, my assistant's voice filled the car. "Ms. Cole, it's late. Is everything okay? Cancel the Bradford Industries partnership." A pause, then her typing began, fast, sharp, and nervous. "Zariah, we're set to sign Monday. Investors are all ready. Cancel it. Effective immediately. I don't care about the penalties. Just do it." She exhaled slowly. "That's a multi-billion-dollar deal. May I ask why?" He called me trash, Danielle, in front of his friends. He made it clear, people like me are good enough to make money for him, but not to marry his son. Danielle didn't reply at first. Then, cold steel laced her tone. "Understood." Should I alert the press once the termination notice is sent? Not yet. Let him wake up to the news first. Then we'll let the world know by noon. Consider it done, she said, her voice steady, almost satisfied. Anything else? Yes. Set up a meeting with Ellison Corporation Monday morning. If Bradford Industries can't value their allies, their rivals might. She gave a low chuckle. You're going to buy their competition instead. Why not? I smiled to myself. Since I'm just gutter trash, I might as well collect the diamonds they throw away. The city lights streaked past my windshield, painting gold trails on the glass. Each light reminded me how far I'd come, from foster homes to boardrooms, from surviving on cafeteria leftovers to owning tech patents that powered half the city. Lionel thought I was some charity case with a fancy name. He didn't know that Cole Innovations, the same company his firm was desperate to merge with to survive the digital shift, was mine. He didn't know because I'd built my empire in silence, hidden behind shell companies and trusted executives. I'd learned that real power doesn't announce itself. It watches, waits, and strikes when arrogance grows too loud. As I parked in my penthouse garage, my phone lit up again. Bradford Industries CFO, already calling. I smiled. Game on. The garage was silent except for the low buzz of my phone vibrating against the console. Marcus Hill, Bradford Industries CFO, calling at 11:47 p.m. I answered, already knowing the panic I'd hear. Ms. Cole, forgive the late call, but we just received notice of the contract termination from Cole Innovations. There must be a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Marcus, I said evenly, unlocking my building's private elevator. But we set to finalize Monday. The board approved. Our investors. The board should have thought about that before their CEO called me garbage in front of 30 people over champagne. Silence. Then a low, shaken breath. He did what? Ask him yourself. Good night, Marcus. I ended the call and rode the elevator up, watching my reflection in the mirrored doors, the reflection of a woman the world had once tried to forget. When the doors opened to my penthouse, I slipped off my heels, poured a glass of whiskey, and walked onto the balcony. The city glittered below like circuitry, every light a reminder that power could come from the darkest places. Lionel Bradford was about to learn what power really meant. I leaned against the railing, letting the night wind cool the anger burning through my chest. My phone buzzed again. Ethan. I let it ring. I loved him, but I couldn't separate the man from the family just yet. Tonight, I needed clarity, not comfort. By morning, my phone had logged 51 missed calls. The great Lionel Bradford, titan of the finance world, had called me 6 times himself. The thought made me smile into my coffee. Danielle called as I reviewed quarterly reports on my tablet. The news leaked early. The press is calling. Bloomberg wants a statement. Tell them Cole Innovations has decided to pursue partnerships that align with our mission of equity, innovation, and integrity, I said, letting the words roll off my tongue like poetry. Danielle whistled. Polite and lethal. I like it. Before I could respond, her tone shifted. Also, Lionel Bradford is in the lobby. My head snapped up. His what? Showed up 20 minutes ago. Security's holding him downstairs. He's demanding to see you. Should I have them escort him out? I took a long sip of my coffee, savoring the moment. No. Let him wait. Give him the conference room with those awful gray chairs, and make him sit there for half an hour. I'll finish breakfast. Danielle chuckled. You're deliciously cruel, boss. I'm on it. 38 minutes later, I pushed open the glass doors of conference room. See, Lionel Bradford was already standing. He looked smaller somehow, his pressed suit rumpled, his perfect posture bent by worry. The power that once wrapped around him like a crown was gone, stripped bare by desperation. Miss Cole, he began, forcing a polite tone. Thank you for seeing me. I sat down across from him, legs crossed, expression unreadable. You've got 5 minutes. He hesitated, then said, I owe you an apology for last night. My comments were inappropriate. I laughed softly. Inappropriate. You called me gutter trash in front of your family and friends. You humiliated me at your table, in your house. That's not inappropriate, Mr. Bradford. That's character. He swallowed hard, shame flickering briefly across his face. I was drunk. No, I said, meeting his eyes. You were honest. Alcohol doesn't invent truths, it unmasks them. You thought I was beneath you, and you finally said it out loud. His jaw tightened. Even humbled, he couldn't hide the disdain curling at the edge of his mouth. You're ending the mojo over hurt feelings. This is business, Ms. Cole, not personal. Everything becomes personal when you insult the person sitting across the table. I rose from my seat, pacing slowly. You did your research on me, right? You found out I grew up in foster homes. You saw the food stamp records, the part-time jobs, the scholarships. You stopped there, because you thought where I came from defined where I was going. He stayed silent. I turned toward the window, the skyline glinting beyond the glass. Do you know why my company wins? Because I remember being hungry. I remember people like you deciding my ceiling before I ever reached it. Every product I create, every deal I sign, every person I hire, I ask myself one thing. Are we opening doors or guarding gates? I looked back at him. Your company represents everything I built mine to fight. Old money protecting old ideas. Legacies that mistake inheritance for worth. He bristled. That's not fair. Isn't it? Tell me, Mr. Bradford, name one executive on your board who grew up working class. One director who didn't go to a private school. One manager who didn't inherit their shot at success. He had no answer. The silence stretched, thick as smoke. The mojo is dead, I said finally. Not because of last night, but because you showed me who you are, and who your company will always be. He slumped slightly, the arrogance draining from his shoulders. Without this merger, we'll collapse within a year. You'll destroy hundreds of jobs. Then maybe it's time those jobs move somewhere that values the people who do the work. I walked toward the door. Wait, he called. His voice cracked for the first time. What about Ethan? You're going to ruin his inheritance, his legacy. I turned. Ethan doesn't need to inherit success. He can build his own. That's the difference between us. You think inheritance is destiny. I see it as a cage. His expression hardened. He'll never forgive you. Maybe not, I said, hand on the door. But at least he'll know I stood for something that can't be bought. Then I walked out, leaving the king without his crown. When I stepped out of that conference room, Danielle was waiting by the glass railing, tablet in hand and that knowing half-smile she wore whenever chaos was brewing. Fairchild Corporation confirmed for Monday morning, she said briskly. And I may have casually mentioned that Bradford Industries is now a sinking ship. I raised an eyebrow. You leaked it already. She smirked. Accidentally, of course. The market should open spicy tomorrow. Good. I adjusted my blazer. Make sure Lionel hears it by lunch. Let him feel the heat. Danielle's smile softened a little. Before you head to your office, there's something else. My chest tightened. What is it? Ethan's here. My heart tripped. Here. He came straight after you left his father. Said he needed to see you. He's been waiting in your private office for almost an hour. I brought him coffee and tissues. I sighed. You're an angel. I know, she teased lightly, but her eyes were gentle. When I opened my office door, Ethan was curled up in my chair, the same one I'd spent sleepless nights building the empire his father tried to buy. His eyes were swollen, but dry now, steady and searching. Hey, I said softly. He stood, shoulders heavy with shame and something deeper. I heard what you told him, he murmured. Danielle, she let me watch on the security feed. I froze. You saw all of it? He nodded. Every word. I sat on the edge of my desk, the city sprawling behind me in sheets of gold light. Then you know why I had to do it. He walked toward me, closing the space between us until his breath brushed my cheek. You didn't just defend yourself, Soraya. You held up a mirror to everything wrong with the world I grew up in. And his voice cracked. I let it happen. Ethan. No, let me finish, he said quickly, taking my hands. I was a coward. I watched him insult you, belittle you, all while I made excuses. I thought he'd change. But last night, watching him tear you down, I wasn't ashamed of you, Soraya. I was ashamed of me. My throat tightened. I had rehearsed anger for this conversation, not tenderness. He lifted my hand, pressing it to his chest. If you'll still have me, I want to start over. No family money, no legacy, no strings. Just us, and whatever we build together. I searched his face, the sincerity, the exhaustion, the love. Ethan, walking away from that inheritance isn't small. It's war. He laughed softly, his smile faint but real. You just declared corporate war on my father and came out smiling. I think we'll manage. I smiled despite myself. I love you, Ethan Bradford. I love you too, Soraya Cole, he said, voice steady now. Even if you just destroyed my father's empire. Especially because of that, I whispered, pulling him closer. He laughed against my lips, the sound warm and alive, even in the ashes of everything we'd just burned. Then my phone buzzed. Danielle again. I groaned. She has impeccable timing. I hit speaker. Yes, Danny. Lionel's holding an emergency board meeting, she said crisply. According to our source, some directors are considering reaching out to you directly. They're talking about replacing him. Ethan blinked. You're serious? I leaned back in my chair, crossing my legs. Tell them Cole Innovations might consider a partnership under new leadership. Danielle paused. New as in? As in anyone but Lionel Bradford. Ethan stared at me, stunned. You're actually going to remove my father from his own company? I met his gaze. I'm not removing him, Ethan. I'm giving the board a choice, evolve or collapse. What they do with that choice is up to them. He rubbed the back of his neck, pacing. He won't go quietly. I wouldn't expect him to. This will get ugly. Probably. My mother will cry. Definitely. My sister will write another awful protest song about family betrayal. I laughed, a sharp, tired laugh that melted into something softer. Let her. History always needs a soundtrack. He looked at me, the corners of his mouth twitching. So, when do we start? I smiled, leaning forward. Right now. Our hands met across the desk, a silent vow between two people who had both been underestimated for too long. And just like that, the girl from Southside Atlanta and the heir who refused his throne became the storm that would change everything. By Monday morning, the whispers had become thunder. Every financial outlet had the headline plastered in bold across their feeds. Cole Innovations terminates multi-billion-dollar merger, Bradford Industries in crisis. The news anchors smiled their polished smiles as they discussed it like it was a chess match. But I wasn't playing chess. I was rewriting the rulebook. Danielle burst into my office, tablet in hand. The board meeting started early, she said. Lionel's trying to keep control, but half the directors want him out. He's losing them fast. Good, I said quietly, scrolling through the reports. Let them taste the fear he fed others for years. She nodded. You really don't play small, do you? I tried that once. It didn't suit me. The phone buzzed again. My investor liaison, confirming that Alyson Corp was officially open to a strategic partnership. Perfect. Every move I'd made since that dinner humiliation had been calculated. Each email, each silence, each leak. What Lionel didn't realize was that I didn't need to destroy him personally. I only needed to hold up the mirror. His own pride would do the rest. By noon, Danielle peeked in again, eyes wide. His hey. I raised a brow. In the building again. In the lobby, yes. But this time, he's not shouting. He looks defeated. Let him wait, I said, sipping my coffee. I want him to feel the weight of every second. An hour later, when I finally agreed to see him, Lionel Bradford was no longer the man who had towered over his dinner guests with cruel arrogance. His shoulders sagged beneath a designer suit that no longer fit like power. It fit like Biden. Ms. Cole, he said as he entered my office, voice low. I suppose congratulations are in order. On what? I asked smoothly. You've done it. You've turned my board against me. They voted to remove me as CEO effective immediately. I set my coffee down. That was fast. He gave a hollow laugh. I underestimated you. I thought you were just another ambitious woman trying to marry up. I didn't realize you were already sitting at the top. I wasn't sitting at the top, I corrected gently. I built it, brick by brick. You just never looked down long enough to notice. Lionel sank into the chair across from me. Do you have any idea what you've done? My name, my family's name, is ruined. Your arrogance ruined it, I said. Not me. He rubbed a trembling hand over his face. You've taken everything from me. I leaned back, studying him. I didn't take anything that wasn't freely given, by your own choices, your own words. He looked at me then, truly looked, and for the first time, I saw not the monster who'd called me garbage, but a man broken by the truth he'd built his empire on. I came here to ask for something, he said finally. What's that? Don't destroy what's left. Leave the company alone. Let my son rebuild it. For a moment, the silence between us was thick with all the things that could have been different. Lionel, I said quietly, your son isn't rebuilding your company. He's helping me build a better one. He stared at me, disbelief giving way to realization. He's with you. Yes. The words hit him harder than any business loss ever could. His face crumpled. He's all I had left. No, I said, my tone soft but unyielding. He's all you never tried to understand. He rose slowly, straightening his suit with shaky hands. You win, Ms. Cole. This was never a game, I replied. He paused at the door, glancing back once. Maybe not for you, but it was for me. And I bet everything, on pride. Then he left, and with him went the echo of the old world that had once ruled over women like me. Danielle stepped in moments later, her voice cautious. The media's already running with it. Bradford removed. Shares are tanking. But, she smiled, our stock just hit an all-time high. I looked out the window, where the city shimmered in the late afternoon sun. Balance restored, I murmured. Danielle tilted her head. You don't look happy about it. Revenge feels satisfying, I said quietly. But it's not the same as peace. She hesitated. Do you want me to call Ethan? I nodded slowly. Yes. Tell him to come up. As the elevator doors opened a few minutes later, Ethan stepped out, wearing the same expression his father had, but with softer eyes and steadier hands. It's done, I said. He nodded. I know. Are you okay? I asked. He smiled faintly. Ask me again after the reporters stopped camping outside my mother's house. We both laughed, tired, knowing laughter that only people who'd been through fire could share. He reached for my hand. So what happens now? Now, I said, standing close enough to feel his heartbeat. Now, we build something worth more than power. He kissed my forehead gently. Then let's start. And just like that, the chapter that began with humiliation ended with quiet, deliberate triumph, the kind that doesn't need applause, only truth. By Tuesday morning, the financial world had officially shifted. The news ticker rolled like thunder across every business channel. Bradford Industries restructures under new leadership. Cole Innovations announces strategic merger. Every outlet wanted a quote. Every rival company wanted a meeting. But I didn't crave attention. I craved clarity. The empire that once tried to humiliate me now needed my name to survive. Danielle breezed into my office, glowing. It's official. The board voted unanimously. Ethan Bradford is the new head of strategic development for the merged company. I looked up, smiling. He accepted. Oh, he didn't just accept. He turned down his father's offer to fund a rival firm. Said he'd rather build something real than inherit something rotten. Pride bloomed warm in my chest. That's my man. Danielle grinned. You're the most dangerous kind of woman, boss, the one who wins with elegance. I laughed softly. Let's keep winning with purpose. When she left, I took a moment to breathe, really breathe, for the first time in days. The skyline glowed outside my window, the same city that once whispered I'd never make it. Now, it moved to my rhythm. The phone buzzed again, not with business, but a personal call. Soraya. Ethan's voice was gentle, calmer than it had been in weeks. Yes, love. Can we meet at the pier tonight? I've got something for you. A soft laugh escaped me. This better not be another press stunt. He chuckled. No, it's just us. That evening, the air at the pier was cool and alive with the hum of city lights. Ethan stood by the railing, wind tousling his hair, a small velvet box in his hand. When I reached him, he didn't say a word at first. He just took my hands, his eyes shimmering like the water below. 6 months ago, he began, my father called you unworthy. Tonight, I want to make sure the world knows how wrong he was. He opened the box, and there it was. A ring so simple and elegant it almost stole my breath. Zariah Cole, he said softly, you turned humiliation into revolution. You showed me what real integrity looks like. So if you'll have me, I want to spend my life building something beautiful beside you. No empires, no legacies, just love. Tay stung my eyes. Ethan Bradford, are you sure you're ready to marry a woman who terrifies half of Wall Street? He grinned. Absolutely. When he slipped the ring onto my finger, the crowd around us, the city, the sound, the stars, blurred into nothing. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was fighting. I felt seen. 6 months later, the ceremony was small, intimate, far from the marble mansions and forced smiles of high society. No reporters, no shareholders, just love, laughter, and the soft hum of a jazz trio playing under a canopy of light. Lionel didn't attend. He hadn't spoken to either of us since his removal. But sometimes silence is the truest apology a man can offer. Ethan's mother, however, called every week, slowly rebuilding bridges one honest conversation at a time. And as for me, Cole Innovations and the newly restructured Bradford Enterprises had merged into something stronger, something rooted not in old wealth but in earned respect. Every time I stood before my team, I thought about that dinner, the one where I was told I didn't belong. The irony still made me smile. Because I had learned the most expensive lesson of all, and so had Lionel Bradford. Never call someone unworthy unless you're ready to be thrown out with it. Revenge had started the fire, but love rebuilt the ashes. And in the end, the woman from Southside Atlanta didn't just win the war, she redefined the kingdom. Moral of the story. True power doesn't come from legacy or money, it comes from self-respect. Those who underestimate others often pay the highest price, while those who rise with grace turn humiliation into history. If this story made you feel something, if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or told you weren't enough, then hit that subscribe button, my lovelies. Because here on Tales by Laura, we remind the world that strong women don't beg for respect. They build their own tables and make others earn a seat. So go ahead, subscribe, like, and share this story with someone who needs that reminder today. You never know who might need the strength to walk out of their own Bradford mansion. In the end, she didn't destroy him out of hate. She taught him a lesson money could never buy. That respect isn't inherited, it's earned. And those who mock where you come from often end up crawling toward where you're headed. Until next time, my darlings, remember this. Stay graceful, stay powerful, and never apologize for the fire that makes you unstoppable. I'm Laura, and this was Tales by Laura.